Hello and welcome to another Pokemon ORAS Wi-Fi battle. Today I'm bringing you a battle against Lucas Carlos, and of course I'm going to give you a question of the day. What is your favourite fairy type Pokemon? Clefable or Sylveon is easily becoming some of my favourite fairy types just because of their youth and competitive and just their overall design. So anyway, we're going into this battle and I'll lead off with my Cinccino as he brings out the Soak, and I thought I'm going to be able to outspeed this thing, and he does make the decision to withdraw, which is a strange decision as you're about to see later in the match, because he could have done some damage with this thing. So he goes into the Whimsicott. I'm not sure what he's expecting, maybe a Tail Slap, maybe a Bullet Seed, etc, etc. So I think we'll go for the U-turn. This thing isn't Rocky Helmet or anything, so I reckon this is just going to be the full Troll set sort of thing. So I go into my Tentacruel from the deep, which is able to counter this thing perfectly, being a poison type and with Liquid Ooze, so even if it wants to try and set up a substitute or Leech Seed or anything like that, it's going to end up taking more damage. So he does decide to set up a Tailwind here, so his Pokemon inside the field are going to be fast as hell, and I just decide to Sludge Wave this thing to the face, because Tentacruel does not mess around with these things. So at that 4 times weakness is going to completely murder this adorable Cotton Ball and send it back to hell. And basically after this he just send into the Bishop, and I'm really not wanting to hang around for this thing because I was expecting a Sucker Punch here, so I'm going to withdraw into my Mega Blastoise, and even if he did want to go for the knockoff, it was a pretty safe switch anyway, because you can't knock off a Mega Stone, thank God. And he just decided to knock off my Blastoise, of course, by holding onto his Mega Stone for his dear life. His Blastoise doesn't want to mess around, so he just make the really smart play, realising this is the Mega Blastoise, and I am going to go straight for the Aerosphere, so it's a good switch on my opponent's part, because I do decide just to go straight for that, and this Gardevoir is going to take absolutely no damage with being a Psychic Fairy type. Fighting types are not going to be able to hurt this thing at all. I mean, I would generally wonder how many hits it could have taken this thing, because the damage it does here is really minuscule, and Gardevoir has really nice special defense. I mean, look at that. I could hit that thing 10 or 12 times and I don't think I'd even kill it by then. So, not wanting to mess around, I do go into my Registeel trying to scare this thing off. And of course, Samson doesn't actually carry any Steel moves, which is a stupid decision, I know, but I'm thinking of replacing Earthquake with Iron Head. I'm pretty sure it's a move shoot to move in ORAS. So after this thing does Mega Evolve, it does decide to set up the Calm Mind, and I'm thinking, oh, this isn't good. I mean, I don't have any investment in special defense at all, and I am the lowest possible in special defense without being a minus special defense nature, so Samson's not looking too great over here. Thankfully the Tailwind gets it out, and he goes for this Focus Splash, but Samson manages to dodge that thing, and I'm like, thank Christ for that, because that had hit, that would have hurt. So I go for the Thunder Wave here, and not really wanting to switch anything into this thing, even though it's a Focus Blast. I just want to try and chip this thing for as much damage as possible so I can bring in something to try and take this thing out. So of course goes for the Focus Blast again, and this thing, look at this, boom, obliterated, complete broken steel right there. That's pretty much how Gardevoir deals with steel types, and it's a pretty effective way to do so. So me knowing this thing isn't too fast to begin with, and especially after being paralysed, I go into my Nelly, just go straight for the Earthquake, and obviously I don't think he wanted to switch into anything, so thankfully I do manage to get rid of this huge threat of this Mega Revolution. I mean, Mega Gardevoir's not to be messed with. I don't think it's as good as Scarf Gardevoir. Scarf Gardevoir is pretty nasty, and you don't want to mess with Scarf Gardevoir. Those things are scary, man. So basically it goes into the Superior, which are everywhere now. I mean, this thing got shot to OU quickly, and I honestly don't think it's OU or even borderline material. Don't get me wrong, incredibly good Pokemon. I Country Leaf Stone's nothing to be messed with. I believe another Country Pokemon counters as Outcuff. I'm not sure if this is true, but apparently if you bring in something to Country and it does lose Leaf Storm, it does start minusing it. So of course he does predict Sludge Wave and brings in his Bishop, and he goes for the knockoff, of course, predicting Switch. And that does a huge amount of damage to me, and I was hoping to get a burn with that Skull, but that is not the case. So it made me think, okay, this thing is probably a Assault Vest since I don't see a Life Orb, and it has changed its move, so it's not a Bandit or anything like that. So Assault Vest Bishop is a pretty viable set, and pretty scary one as well. I mean, so I bring on a Nelly, and I'm like, okay, this guy's probably not going to want to switch out. So hits me with the Sucker Punch. Does a good chunk of damage, but not good enough, and I decide just to go for the Earthquake, finish this thing off for good. Because these things aren't exactly defensive. I think this is pretty low defense, even though it is a Steel type. Still a really good type in Dark Steel, ends up countering out a lot of things. Excuse me, but of course that huge fighting weakness. So he brings in a Superior, and I'm just like, okay, I don't want to switch out or anything, I want to get as much damage on possible. So I do hit it with the Ice Shot, but luckily for me, manages just to miss. So I go for the Ice Shot again, taking this thing down to a pretty low health. So he does go for the Leaf Storm here, which is going to hit and hurt, and of course increase his attack by 2. So this thing's looking pretty scary over here, and I'm really not wanting to mess with it. These things, even after one Leaf Storm, can be quite nasty. You know, you see Leaf Storm, Dragon Pulse, sometimes these things have hidden power fire. And it's a pretty nasty set to mess with. I mean, as I say, I don't think it's all EU material, but it's still nasty. Anyway, I wanted to go for the U-turn just for the 100% accuracy, and I knew super effective would manage to kill this thing. Plus, I knew he had like an Arcanine and a Soak in the back, so I really didn't want to mess around. I just thought, okay, I can bring in my Clefable here, bring in the finger, just, you know, wave it around and all that. So, bring in the finger. This thing's a pretty great set. I'm really enjoying running Clefable. I mean, yeah, definitely a good OU poke. So here he goes with the Poison Jab, and I'm like, oh hell, this is gonna hurt. And literally, as soon as I clicked Moonblast, I did remember all these things carry Sturdy. So go for the Moonblast, bring it all the way down to its Sturdy. Doesn't need a Focus Sash, just has a natural one as its ability. And of course, I'm just going to be able to outspeed me. I mean, the special attack drop doesn't help. It's like, oh well, I think it's just the critical thing. So the finger's like, F you, man. This can take your special attack down, which you're never going to use. So, Galactic's Clefable didn't get to do much in this game, which is a shame, because my Clefable usually does work in these games. So this is scary to think here. I know he probably wouldn't want to go for the close combat, but he does get the Poison Jab on me, and gets the poison something. The first turn he could have easily outspeeded and hit me with the close combat. Maybe he reckoned I would have known it was a Choice Scarf set, but I honestly didn't know at that point, and to be honest, it didn't really cross my mind. So he could have done some huge damage right at the beginning of the game. I think that was his only misplay all game. I mean, staying on the Nelly isn't exactly a great one, but he didn't, want to mess around. So anyway, the U-turns of safe bet here just to get down to a Sturdy, because I knew this Arcanine was in the back, and I was pretty much gathering it have Intimidate, which of course it does. So Intimidates my Blastoise, but Blastoise isn't scared of this thing. Then it goes for the Wild Charge, and does a ton of damage. I'm like, oh, that was nasty. So I'm thinking, at least this thing isn't Scarf, because the Scarf was his Soak. So luckily for me, I'm thinking maybe this is Band-Aid. It's not Life Orb, because his health didn't go down, just the recoil. Luckily my Chinchino has managed to win me the game, because this is a great sweeper, just bring it off to finish things off. Luckily the Rock Blast doesn't miss, but at the first thing it doesn't do a lot. The second one doesn't do a lot. The third one's looking a bit better, but by the time the fourth one hits, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to live. I'm not going to get close combat to the face or anything like that. Or Wild Charge, etc. So that's the game, and it was a pretty good one. Good play to you, Carlos. Really good game. If you see this, hope you enjoy. I mean, you were running a pretty nasty team there. We were both running heavy OU pokes. I mean, I think your team kind of wins on the more creative one. And thank you for the game. Remember to like, subscribe, share, all that social media stuff, and I hope you all have a nice day.